Good morning. I'm Rosemary and you're listening to The Light Walkers Path. It's a place to develop new insights, find your soul's purpose, hear enlightening conversation, and be inspired. Good morning. This is Rosemary, and I'm the host of The Light Walkers Path, Grow Your Spirit with Rosemary. And it airs every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And my purpose is to develop your soul's purpose and help you get some interesting and helpful insights. It's a place for enlightening conversation, and you can find replays on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many streaming platforms. I also do post on my own website after the airing, so you can look at my archive at the bottom of my page and see all of the podcasts I've already done. Today, I am by me, myself, and I. And today's broadcast is about finding your soul's purpose, finding your authentic self, and what it is. So I've noticed that recently a lot of the clients that have come to me are struggling with who they are, what is their purpose, where are they, what do they do next, what do I call myself, where do I go? There's a lot of questions about finding our true self. And you may have even heard people talk about what's my authentic self and don't really understand what that might mean. So the first thing I'd like you to do is you can jot 3 words that describe you. So if you're listening, even if you're listening live or after, and you want to share, you can text them to me. But just jot 3 words to describe who you are, and just look at that list. And I'm going to tell you about it in a second. All right. So while you're thinking about who you are, I want you to think about what you appreciate about yourself. What is it that defines you? One of the things that you might notice in your list, and this is very common, people that don't really know who their authentic self is, they will look at extraneous things or labels. So they might say, well, I'm a mother, I'm a this, I'm a that, they might say, I live in a big house, I'm short, I'm tall. All those things are not your authentic self. Those are things about you. They may be things you have, things you own, but that is not you. What those things are, it may reflect things you find or you're drawn to. So let's say someone lives in a gigantic house, and every time the new thing comes out, they want the new car, the new this, the new that. That doesn't reflect their authentic self, but it affects or it mirrors values that they think define who they are. So for instance, a person that doesn't feel good about themselves unless they have those expensive things around them, their value is, without these things, I am not a successful person. So they are equating the success and the objects with who they are authentically. Those two don't really match. All right. And that's where the difficulty is. We come to labeling ourselves through life. I'm this, I'm that, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a brother. Those things may define where you sit, but it doesn't define your authentic self. So when you look at your list, what you could do is cross out anything related to physicality of what you look like, any label that you find. So if you put mother, sister, father, brother, cross those things out as well. What I'm trying to have you look for is the things that are you. And the things that are you are actually inner values. Those things might be what you appreciate and what you stand for. The other thing is a lot of times people feel kind of lost because they don't know what they stand for, so they kind of flounder. So one of the things that I like to tell my clients to do is write down qualities that you notice in other people that you really value. So let's say you're seeing someone and you say, oh, wow, they have really great integrity. They have a very good sense of confidence. Those would also be things about yourself that you would value. So when you look at someone else, it mirrors the values that you would like in yourself. You might also notice what you appreciate about yourself. So I listed a few things that kind of stand for who I am as a person. And these are things that I aspire to because they are also qualities that I notice in other people that I like. So one of the things that really is important to me as a value is integrity. So when I say I'm going to do something, I will do it. It really bothers me if someone says, "Oh, I'll call you in 2 days," and they don't call. I like the follow through because it shows that someone values who I am because I value who they are. So integrity to me is very important. Kindness and compassion. These are a lot of spiritual values too. Like in Buddhism, they're into like compassion and kindness. Christianity, Judaism, we all have this common core of values that people seek that are on a path. So values of integrity and compassion are important to me, and therefore they are values that I aspire to in myself. The authentic self is how you take these values and you move forward on this path, living those values, not just saying it or thinking it, but actually showing it in all aspects of your life. So, for instance, if I am telling you that kindness is important and I'm at the food store and I'm ramming into somebody with a shopping cart, or I'm cutting someone off in traffic and cursing at them, or doing anything like that, that is not showing that I'm living with this value that I'm holding dear. So it's not just having the value, but it's actually using it and working with this. And if you don't have it right away, if I'm aligned with an honest person with integrity, and I do something dishonest, those two things don't jive. Therefore, I'm not living to my authentic values for myself. The other one that I aspire to is non-judgmental. And this is hard because many times during the day, we're discerning always, that's this, that's good, that's bad, that's high, that's low. We always aspire with our mindset and our emotions. And sometimes you'll find if you listen to your thoughts, you may have a judgmental thought about someone. And it's something that it happens for all of us, but I try to catch myself when I have one of those moments. For me, sometimes if I see someone doing something that I think may be really dumb, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so dumb. And they're like, oh, judgment. And then I have to pull myself back and say, that was a judgmental thing. It doesn't match with my value of being non-judgmental. I have to let this go. Maybe they just don't know better. All right. So you might have to do that and catch your thoughts several times during the day if that is one of your values. Sometimes people don't know what they stand for. And that's where I guess practicing and learning about who you are as a person can really, really help. So let's say I find out that, I found out about myself. I'm impatient with myself. I'm not impatient with other people. So if I'm learning something and I'm not doing well at it, sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have known that. But I have to give myself a break, just like I would for someone else. So sometimes these values that we have become kind of sticking points because you're going to notice right away if you are not living that value yourself. Okay. I tell people too to honor the journey that you're on. And that means the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's say you're going through a situation in life and it's not an easy one. And we'll go through this. That's why we're here. There's always relationship issues and possibly health issues and other things that we struggle with in our lives. Part of it is appreciating what you're learning from that journey or that situation and noticing how you are faring through it. And truthfully, there's times in my life where I say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Why didn't I do this, this, and that? But again, I have to remember to show myself compassion because that helps me to understand why I chose the situation, why I'm in the situation, and how I can fare better if it comes up again. So a really helpful thing that you can do is to start journaling or jotting down moments when you have overcome something. Or even as a situation comes up, you might write down like, right now, at my age, I'm struggling with like how to get my body in shape again. And, I walk and I do all the right things and everybody's saying, oh, you're so, eat so healthy. You do this, you do that. And I'm looking at my body saying, what's happening here? So a lot of times you might notice that you are struggling with something. So my journal entry was, I am struggling to be fit at my age so that I can live a good quality of life, because the value for me is the more healthy I can become at my age, the more years I can help people and I can be a guide for other people. If I'm struggling and not feeling well, that's going to affect my energy with other people. So it's important that the values you hold are also ones that you own up to. So, in my journal I put how to be healthy. Now, I can't just write that and not take an action, right? Because then it's just a nice thing that I wrote in a book that is a great thing, but I'm not going to do it, right? So, then you have to list how can you help yourself with that goal, or that, I don't even like the word goal, but how can I help myself achieve this value and be my authentic self in that moment? Well, I found out that I do like to walk and I like to hike, and that worked well for me. I really don't like certain activities like oh, I don't know. I did CrossFit a couple of years ago, and it didn't bring me great joy. I did it for a while. I'm like, I just didn't feel like it resonated with me. So even though I did it for a year, it really was exhausting and it wasn't my thing. So you have to find things that align with your value and your truth, but that also are, um, you appreciate them about yourself, and that you have it in your list to help you. So one of my values might be walk each day, drink more water, whatever it is. And then, as an authentic a person with integrity, you have to follow through for yourself. So if you don't follow through, then you're not living to that authentic value that you said is so important to you. Okay. You might notice that sometimes we carry values that our family believe, but that we really don't believe. You might have been raised with a certain understanding that you have to think this way or do this certain thing, and it doesn't jive with your value as a person, as an adult. That's very common. Another thing that could happen that stops emotional growth is traumas that you've had in childhood that you have not healed. So they will stop you along your journey, because every time you begin moving forward, it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. So I think about people that say, oh, I want to be abundant and have money. But your family's values were, if you don't work hard for it, you don't earn it. If you don't, um, if you don't work 90 hours a day, then you will not make money. So that's a family value that is in there. The other thing is a family value of not having enough. So especially in my age group, a lot of our parents went through the Depression, or our grandparents, right? So their mindset was that you have to save every little thing and you can't spend any money, not even a dollar, because if you do, it may go away. All right. There is a balance between give and take, and money is energy. So you learn the balance of give and take, saving and spending. It's energy. So if you have an abundance mindset, you'll be doing much better than if you have the feeling of, I never have enough, I'm lacking. You may also find that people that are extremely parsimonious, which means kind of cheap, right? They also are emotionally cheap with their emotions. They withhold. So one of the things that I've learned to live my authentic value of helping others is, when I am blessed with money, I will pay for someone else. I will do a good deed. I will help someone in some way with what I'm given. And that helps to free up the energy of abundance, and it also helps me to be my authentic self of caring for other people. Okay. The other thing that you have to do is honor your mistakes. So let's say you really messed up, and like in your mind, you're saying, oh my gosh, that was the dumbest thing ever, right? And you start beating yourself up. Well, the world will beat you up if you let it. Okay. You don't have to do that to yourself. So the kindest thing to do to show yourself this kindness is to say, you know what? I might have made a really bad choice, but it's going to get better. I can choose differently. Okay, I am reading a comment. It says, what you are talking about is so important, that thoughts have power. Love, abundance, mindset. You're always so generous. And that's from Gina. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, so, just keep that in mind, that the more that you open to other people, the more that you will receive from the universe in unexpected ways. And that's one of the universal laws called law of attraction, which I will also, touch on today. Okay, I have some courses that I wanted to tell you about, self-study courses. So, the first one is Become Your Own Superhero, and that's listed on my self-study on my website at rosemaryd.com. And the second one is Raise Your Vibration in 30 Days. And we're going to be right back. We're in for a quick sponsor break. Please stay with me. Don't go away. I need you. Please come back. All right, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Hi there, welcome back to the Light Walkers Path, Grow Your Spirit with Rosemary. Before the break, I was saying there's two courses on my website that you might try just to help you find your way. One of them is Become a Superhero, and the other is Raise Your Vibration in 30 Days. And these two are self-study courses. I also do like transformational sessions to help my clients, and I have in-person workshops in New Jersey, so those are going on also. Okay, so as I was leading into this before, there's different ways that we mature as adults, and different levels or achievements that you gain during the way when you learn who your authentic self is. So I wanted to touch on something that teachers know, because I learned this back when I was in college to become a teacher back in the day, as they say, and it's called Maslow's theory or Maslow's hierarchy. Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist, and he developed a really interesting system. And I found that it's so accurate. Even today, I don't think they've come up with anything that really hits it the same way. So he taught that many states, many emotional states as adults we travel through, right? So one of the lowest or beginning states also relates, if you're a yogi or a person that knows this, relates to our first chakra. Your first chakra is down, it's the first one at the bottom, like in your pubic area. This one relates to safety and psychological needs being met. So I want you to think about, like, if you're a person and you're really struggling along, and every time you get upset, you overeat. Okay, that's a survival need, because that first chakra is called your survival chakra. It will bother you when you're under stress. That's why people drink, smoke, eat, and get addictions, because that's the first chakra screaming at you like a child. Feed me, make me better. Okay. Some people, even as adults, are stuck in their first chakra. All right. And it's kind of not a good place to be, because every time something hits, every time there's an emotion, you will go back to that thing that brings you comfort, even if it's not helpful to you. All right. So that's the first level of Maslow's hierarchy. It usually develops between birth and the age of 2, which means that chakra, when a baby comes and a baby's born, the first chakra is ready to go, because that one's saying, feed me, I'm going to scream if I'm hungry. And you will find a person that's in their first chakra. That person might be a screamer, or someone that is a bit of a bully, because if they don't get their way, they're going to yell, scream, stamp their feet like a child. That's first chakra, but it's also the first level of Maslow's hierarchy. The second level of Maslow, it develops at the age of 2 to 7. And this is where a person begins to feel that they find their place in the world. It's called safety and belonging. Excuse me. It's where logical thinking begins to develop. So if you think of a child, like maybe in like first or second grade, by the time they reach second grade, they're beginning to realize that the whole world isn't them, and there's people around them, and there's relationships that begin happening, and there's friendships that begin to develop. And this is where they begin to develop a feeling of self-worth. Before the age of 7, the brain and the mind and the child is very, very open. In fact, at that age, they are so open, they're kind of living in a hypnotic state. They are pulling in, through osmosis, really, how the adults are behaving in their life, how they deal with stress, how they act when, when they don't get their way. Now, if you have parents that are yellers or screamers, or if you have parents that, um, blow up at people all the time at this food store, or when they don't get their way, you begin noticing that that's the way that you develop yourself, because it's like through osmosis, right? So by the age of 7, kids are developing these inner patterns of how they are going to walk through life. That's why it's really important if you have a young child to nurture who they are. Let them explore their interests. So if you have a child that's very artistic, let them explore artistic ability. If they're creative, foster that in them. And it's tough because a lot of parents now are very busy. They're working a lot. They probably, have a limited amount of energy for themselves, much less, the kids that they have. And our society is such where people often need to work two incomes to even support their families. And it's really tough. But I understand. So the second chakra, the root chakra, is their survival one. The root is also for safety and belonging. So it's hard to feel, if a child does not feel safe in the world, it's hard for them to develop that self-esteem that they need to develop further, especially if a child's been under trauma. And if you think of yourself as an adult, if you had a very tumultuous or traumatic childhood, your first and second chakras are under siege, basically. You might have learned how to cope, but not always in the best way. You might have learned to be silent, not speak your truth. You might have learned if you make waves, your family gets mad at you. You might have learned that anger is the way to solve a problem when other ways could suit you better. So there's different lessons that we learn, both positive and negative, by the parenting and the adults in our circle. The next level usually develops between the age of 8 and 9, and that would be kind of like third grade. It's where a child begins to feel their self-esteem. They're kind of breaking away from the world is only me into the world has other people and we're working together. So by third grade, most people between the ages of 8 and 9 begin to get this like sense of this is who I am, this is what I'm good at. And I want you to think about this. I've met a lot of adults, and I do one of my courses. We work with creativity, and we maybe color or draw or paint or something, right? A lot of adults will say, "I'm not good at art, so therefore I can't do it." And they don't understand that the self-expression is the point of art. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to create a masterpiece, beautiful picture that I'm going to sell like a Mona Lisa. It could just mean I'm putting color on paper to express who I am. The same thing goes with writing. I'm not good at writing, all right? Because maybe the person had trouble when they were younger. When I was really young, I was really bad at spelling. And probably till the age of 11, my teacher kept saying, you're highly creative. You can write like crazy. You can't spell right now. So whenever you come across a word, circle it and later go back and look it up or correct your spelling if this piece is going to be seen by other eyes. So I learned how to be really diligent and check for errors. And thank goodness, because my teacher was wonderful. She nurtured my creativity at an early age, so much so that I love to write. I've written about 10 books right now, and they're published. So you could nurture those things rather than pointing out the negative. Now, she could have said, oh, you're really dumb, you can't spell. Thank God she didn't, right? Because instead she said, you're highly creative, just be diligent looking where it's up. And that really gave me a wonderful feeling of self-esteem and autonomy because she valued what I can do and didn't focus on the thing that I was growing and couldn't do yet. The same goes for people that have trouble with anything in school. I've dealt with a lot of people that have had learning disabilities as a child. Many of the clients come to me now and whisper, I had ADHD as a kid. I still do. I can't focus. And what I tell them is their brain's just working in a different way. Value who you are and value the gift of how you work, because sometimes kids with attention problems are amazing at juggling 10 things at once instead of just that one thing that a left brain person can do, right? So they have gifts that other people may not have. Back in the day, that might have been the one that would be the warrior in their clan, the one that had a lot of energy that could save and protect people. So they may become fabulous as protectors and police force and people that are very active people. So what I'm saying is when you have something that you consider a lack, there's always a gift in it. there's always something that you can take from that moment and grow it and say, you know what, I might not have been good at this, but there's something I can do with it that makes it positive. And that helps you to find your authentic self again. Okay. The third chakra is your self-esteem point, and that's the one that's under the breastbone. And that is also the one that develops between the ages of 8 and 9. Okay. The highest level, or the next level, that shows a completely autonomized adult is called a self-actualized person. And the qualities of a self-actualized person might be that they are spontaneous, they can roll with the punches, they're reality centered, and they can trust themselves. They don't have to poll 99 people about what to do. They know in their inner self that they can figure it out and find an answer. Not that it's bad to ask for advice, because we all need advice from people that know more than we do. But once they have that advice, they can confidently make a decision and then live with whatever happens. So let's say I've, gotten my expert advice and I decided to do something a certain way and it messes up. That's on me. I could say, okay, maybe I'll try it this way. And you can simply change direction and try something else. A confident person that's self-actualized will not call themselves names. They will not downgrade themselves. They will not call themselves dumb, stupid, I don't know better. They would just say, maybe I need more information to solve this. So what I'm telling you is that is what we aspire to be. We aspire to move ahead. We aspire to be self-actualized. Not everyone will get there at the same time. Some people will self-actualize quite young, maybe 20 years old, maybe 30. Others may take 50, 60, 70. Some people will stay in self-esteem mode or safety mode for their entire lives, because we have a choice. And by what you do and what you grow and what you learn about yourself, that shifts you and helps you move along your path. All right. How do we get stuck? Okay. People get stuck at different levels of development. Sometimes people will go through a trauma or a life problem that knocks them to their knees. It could be a divorce. It could be losing a child. It could be illness. It could be many things that can cause you to stop forward movement. And sometimes we have to stop forward movement in order to heal ourselves and in order to be confident enough to take another step forward. Healing trauma, healing childhood trauma, working with people that can guide you, those are all great things. You can also learn on your own through reading, through learning through a spiritual path. So I had a question someone sent to me this morning, and it says, how do you know you are on a spiritual path? And I wanted to just touch that thought. So sometimes there's a really strong pull and desire to do something. So when I started, I was always a teacher, and I knew this was my path from when I was really, really little, because I was always helping people, right? So first thing that you do is you look at what you normally would do as a child that drew you. So for me, I was always teaching and helping kids. I remember playing with a little chalkboard when I was like 5 years old. I was always pretending I was teaching somebody. I came in with this mission to teach. I knew that was my mission. How I knew I wanted to be on a spiritual path was that I had a lot of faith in things, and I always knew that when I prayed, things would shift or change. The other thing that happened to me is in my 30s, I had a really, really strong pull that I had to go to the library and read all the books across the shelf, and they were in the spiritual section. So I read about all different religions and all different belief systems. And I was just really like, I don't know, I guess obsessed with knowing. So I kept reading and reading and reading, and it was in my brain, and I had all this stuff. And then at one point I just said, I'm going to stop. Okay. So I will come back to that thought. I want you to think right now on the break what you love to do as a child. And if you're listening live and you want to text me, that'd be awesome. All right. So we're heading for a sponsor break. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. Thanks. Hi, welcome back to the Light Walkers Path, Grow Your Spirit with Rosemary. And today we're discussing authentic self and how you find it and how you find your path. So one of the questions I was talking about before the break was how do you know? How do you know that you're called to a path? And one of the things I would tell you is that very strong emotional feeling of I have to learn this or I love this. You know, one of the comments that just came in is someone wrote, I loved animals, especially love magical horses. They're magical. Interesting about third grade and self-esteem. I had a horrible third grade teacher. I remember she did not encourage me. This explains my self-esteem struggle. Yeah, a lot of self-esteem struggles do come from our schooling and from the adults in our life that make us doubt or make us doubt who we are or what we're good at. The other thing that I always notice, and I know this with kids, is like I know my grandson was struggling a little bit, and he's in second grade now. He loves his teacher, but I know that he's very sensitive. So what he might do is he'd come home saying, I'm not good today. The teacher took a star away from me. And those kind of things we want to build into children that are positive because they're going to get enough negative in their life. So you want to be encouraged with what's positive for you. So the first thing I would tell you is, as a child, what were you drawn to? And like Gina said, she loved horses, and she still does. And today I know she's a Reiki master teacher that works with animals. So I would look for interests that you had. For me, I would always be counseling people. They'd be sitting down next to me, and I'd either be teaching them or they're asking me for advice, even when I was really young. So I knew that was kind of part of my path, but I wasn't sure what to do with it yet as a child. How do you know you're a light worker? A light worker is somebody that wants to bring truth, healing, and help to other people while they're on this planet. I came in with a very strong mission that I had to help people and I had to help them find their way. It's always kind of been in the background of anything I did in my life, and I find it still is, and this is why I've chosen to do the podcast this year. Okay, synchronicities are wonderful ways to find out that you are on your path. A synchronicity is another name for a coincidence that happens a lot. So when I started on my spiritual path and I was reading across the shelves, right, I had these very strange coincidences start to happen in quick succession to each other. And some of these might have been like, I don't know, finding a coin, finding a feather, having someone mention energy work, all kinds of things that led me to the next step of my journey. One of the things I was really led to was energy work and Reiki, because I'm a Reiki master teacher. I've been working with Reiki energy work since 1997. And one of the things that was kind of cool was I didn't know what it was. So I'm like, I keep hearing this strange word. I don't know what it is. I'm going to see if I know anybody that knows what this is. So I went for a Reiki session myself back in 1995. And I was really impressed by the healer. She placed hands on me. I was feeling heat. I was feeling like this amazing energy go through my body. And I'm like, I got to learn this. I got to learn this. So I kept calling the center, and I'd call, like, I was so bothersome, but I would call and say, is Vivian teaching yet? Is Vivian teaching Reiki yet? Finally, she decided to teach it, I guess because I was calling so much that they're like, you need to teach this, right? So I was one of her first master teachers that she had trained back in 97. So I was drawn to do energy work. And from there, all right, so when you learn Reiki, and this is first level Reiki, it's called the self-healing level. What it does is it opens the healing channel in the person that's learning. It allows them to send energy through their palms to a person that they work on. But since first level is self-healing, it's really all about kind of like letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. It allows your own karma to loosen up, and it brings it to the surface so you can see your life lessons and kind of say, you know what? I have to get rid of this thought process I have. I have to be more open to, whatever it is that comes your way. After you learn first level, you can decide if you want to go on to work on other people. So second level, your energy will increase 4 times. It allows you to use this energy to help other people. You can send it virtually. You could send it backward and forward in time. You could work on healing your own inner child. You could work on sending energy to someone. You can learn chair Reiki. There's lots of possibilities once you are at the second level of Reiki. How it helps in life is once you learn Reiki and you're attuned, it gives you a big leap spiritually, so that you are more open to the changes that come across your plate. Okay. I always say that even if you don't choose to work on someone, you might want to learn Reiki just for your own benefit and spiritual growth. I have one of my students that I trained to second level. He said he didn't want to work on anyone. It was for his own benefit and for him to grow in spirit and to see what he wanted to do to find his authentic self in his life. And now he's on a spiritual path that diverged from Reiki, but it helped him to grow and to appreciate who he was. So I would say it's wonderful for anyone to try and to learn at first level, where you're working on self-healing. And then if it's not for you and you're not meant to work on other people and you don't want to, and that doesn't draw you, then don't. You could still have the benefit of it from learning. All right. A spiritual path. Okay, so how do you know you're being led to a spiritual path or calling? I would say it comes with your emotion. So the more in touch with your emotions and yourself you are, the more you're going to be led to the thing that you want to do and that brings you joy. So if I'm in a job and I absolutely hate it and it brings me no joy, then that's your choice, but it doesn't help you to align with what you need to be doing to bring you happiness and to work with your gifts and skills. There's a lot of people that get stuck in not enjoying what they're doing. I was really, really lucky because I came in knowing I wanted to be a teacher, and I worked with kids for like 32 years and I loved it. And I knew that was my place at the time I did it. I also knew that I should be doing something else along with it. And it took me a while to figure it out that I was supposed to be doing energy work and starting my own business, which at the time, it's like, why would you start a business? You're working full time. But I did. And I knew it was the right thing to do because it called me. I just felt it in my heart and my gut. Like, that's what I need to be doing. And I kept having visions and dreams of me like training adults. I'm like, I didn't know what I was even doing at the time. Like when I was getting these dreams, I'm like, why am I seeing adults? Why am I teaching adults in my dream? I teach 8-year-olds. Why am I teaching adults? And it took me a while to kind of figure out where this was going to lead me. So the next quality I would tell you to grow in yourself might be openness. Openness to things that come across your way. And one of the things that is a very good thing to do when you're not sure who you are or where you're going is to explore different opportunities and different things to learn just for the sake of learning it. And if you learn it and it's not for you, you will soon know. And if you try it out and you like, I love this, I want to do this, that's going to be a clue to what you can try. And then other ideas come out of it. So for instance, let's say you're very artistic and you have no idea what to do with your art, right? So a couple things. You could take an art therapy course. Maybe you want to teach art therapy to kids. Maybe you want to work with people that have emotional issues and how to use their art to get out their emotion. Maybe you want to have an Etsy store and sell your art. Maybe you want to go and vend it. Maybe you want to print it on clothing or something. There's all kinds of ideas that are offsprings from your talent. The thing that blocks a lot of people is as soon as they get that really great idea, they'll say, oh no, well, I can't do that because, it might cost me $10 to set up an Etsy store, or I might not be good enough. Maybe nobody's going to want it. But see, you don't know what other people think. You don't know what their thought process and their taste is. So maybe somebody will absolutely love what you do, but you'll never know because you're too afraid to try. So a lot of finding your path is not worrying so much about what everybody thinks about you. And I always tell my clients, if you wouldn't go to someone for their advice, then why would you take their criticism? Okay? If it is a criticism that would make sense to you. So let's say you're doing something and someone, sends you a suggestion. The first thing that a lot of people do, they're going to bristle and say, oh, no, I'm not going to do it that way, blah, 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 blah. I would consider someone's criticism. All right, give it thoughtful consideration. If it is just, if it's helpful to you, take it in and consider it. If you hear it from three different people, then I would take it a little bit more seriously. Okay, maybe they have a point. Maybe I have to consider this. If it is just negative and not helpful to you, then I would discount it. Don't even take it in as your truth, because that doesn't help you. And many times the people that are the most critical are the ones that don't have enough guts to do what you do or try what you're trying. So I would just let it go. Just let it go. A lot of people get so stopped, and that's again, that's the self-esteem and the safety and belonging. Those two chakras will really act up when someone criticizes. Kind of like your back's against the wall. Oh no, you can't say that about me. And a lot of times people have a point. So you want to listen to the ones that have your back. People that give you advice that have your back, those are the ones that I would take the most seriously. If they say, you have to speak up and it's a friend of mine that I care about deeply, I would really listen to that. But if it's someone that's just saying something randomly because, they're hiding on social media, I don't listen to that because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't resonate with my higher truth. Okay, the next thing I would tell you to do is throw out labels that identify you as this, or that. Now, I know it's all about labeling these days. I know everybody wants a label, but I will tell you that you're human. That is your label, you're human. You're human with a soul inside of you. And how you express this human soul inside of you is by your values, how you treat people, and your choices. Other than that, that is a label. A label can put you in a little box that says this is you. It limits who you are. So I would tell you to be really cautious of labeling who you are and, kind of blocking yourself from what you want to see yourself as. Okay. So we're coming up on our last sponsor break, and this is the Light Walkers Path. Don't go away. Got the last little segment coming up. Thank you. Welcome back. This is Rosemary, and this is the Light Walkers Path. Grow your spirit with Rosemary. So we were talking about self-actualization, growing your spirit, finding your purpose. And one of the reasons why, and I'll just tell you this, is that when you are reaching the point where you feel yourself actualized, you will not be at the mercy of other people's opinions at all times. You will feel more confident and you'll be able to make decisions based upon what's right for you, not like to make other people somewhere out in the they happy. Because then if you're always looking out there for validation, you will always feel that you're lacking it, because there's always going to be someone with an opinion that is different than yours. So one of the couple things I want to tell you is how you know if you are self-actualized. So it is someone that's honest, living with benevolence, living their truth, enjoying the simplicity of making a decision or knowing who they are, finding things that bring them joy, self-regulating for issues or problems, being unique, individual, and having a individual mindset that fits for you. You're going to find that not everyone are your tribe or your people. And one of the questions I had gotten earlier is, how do you know, or how do you find your tribe? And I would say your people are the ones that resonate with values that are similar to yours. However, I would also say be really open to people that are very different from you, because you can learn so much through other people's experiences, through what they've been through and what their mindset is. The more you are open to other people's mindsets instead of just this tunnel vision of this is me, you can be more open and understanding and compassionate toward other people's truths. I would also say be careful with identifying strongly with I am this, I am that, rather than the values. So if you identify with values, you'll be doing yourself a greater service than identifying with a mindset, because a mindset is like cement. So let's say you're like, I only think this. That doesn't leave you open for any interpretation or any ability to change your mind. And you want to be in the mindset where you can change your mind and you have a right to change your mind if facts come through that allow you to shift or change your perspective. If you are very set with what you believe, then you will not be able to be open to conversation or other people's opinions or thought processes. So that really would help you to grow as a person, the more open you are. And I say travel is a great way too. I find that, years ago I went to Mexico and the people were so poor and it broke my heart. I was seeing people live in shacks. I came home, I'm like, oh my gosh, I live in a mansion. And my tiny little house all of a sudden was a mansion because I just saw people living in shacks. The food on my table was a feast when I saw people with meager food, and struggling just to feed their family. I mean, when you have a perspective and you open it, you can really appreciate what you have, and that really does help you to feel more grateful for everything in your life that you do have. The law of vibration is a universal law that states whatever you vibrate with, you will bring in and draw to yourself. So again, let's say you're stuck in, self-esteem, right? If you don't feel you are worthy and you have low self-esteem, everything that comes across your vision, everything that comes across your experience is going to prove to you that you are right. So it's going to be the person that makes you feel like you're useless, right? Or a person that says something cruel that downgrades your self-esteem, or you're going to feel left out. That shows that the third chakra and the self-esteem point still needs to develop, because the universe will mirror who you are. It'll resonate with where you are in your life spiritually. So in order to pull in people that appreciate you, you have to appreciate yourself. In order to have this mirror work to your advantage, you want to be the strongest version and the kindest version of who you are, living your values. Because when you do that, other people will pull in who have the same mindset. And that's kind of how you find your tribe. If you're very insecure, if you're not kind to other people, and you always want your way, you are going to be very disappointed and lonely because other people will not want to spend time with you. So you have to watch with what energy you send out, what you resonate with other people, and where your vibration sits. Okay, so that is a good way to start. I do have some books that are very helpful for you. Two of them that are the most recent ones I wrote are actually workbooks. I have Inspired by Angels, a book from the heart, and the other one's called Wisdom, Sages, and Angels. And each one has a little section of something that I wrote, and then there's a part that you could write in the book and tell what you value. And in order to find out what you value, sometimes you have to look at a passage, a thought, a quote, something that says, oh, that's interesting. This is how I feel. All right. So I want you to explore those on my website at rosemaryd.com. You could text me at info@rosemaryd.com. And I'll be happy to answer you. And you can also set up a session with me on my website. I do discovery sessions, complimentary, 30 minutes, just to see if you have questions about anything we discussed. All right. And today, I appreciate your time today. This is the Light Walkers Path. I hope that I've inspired you. I hope that you'll come back Tuesday again and listen in, and come in at 10 Eastern. And thank you so much for visiting with me today and spending time listening. Thank you. I'm your host, Rosemary DiTrolio, and you've been watching and listening to the Light Walkers Path. Learn about my workshops, sessions, courses, and more at info@rosemaryd.com. My website, rosemaryd.com, Hands of Light by Rosemary. Have a blessed and beautiful day.